Hello. You are muted.
I realized I was muted too. Hi, it's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Unless we've met at previous meetings, but hi, I'm Harmont. I'm gonna be kind of the host of this session today. I think let's wait maybe a couple minutes before starting just to give people some time to pop in and see what they want to do.
Definitely. So there's a couple of features I want to see if I have control over. For breakout rooms, can I control breakout rooms?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I'd like to be able to control breakout rooms.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, you should be able to now. Can you see that option?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So we're going to have 5 of them. Oh,
Mhm.
perfect. And I can rename them now. Okay. Awesome.
Perfect.
So I have all of the breakout rooms set up. We'll be sharing some slides. Gosh, I have too many tabs open here. Sorry. So we'll be sharing some slides in the beginning, just to like get people to know what we're doing. And we also have some like question prompts and that sort of thing. Because this does start at 2, yeah.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
This event does start at 2, Pacific time.
Yeah, it starts at 5.
Okay, got it. Nice.
Yeah, 5 Eastern.
Sorry about that.
No, that's
So then, in the event that no one shows up, what do we do then?
that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that question, but I will
Okay.
find the answer to that question.
Okay, cool. Because I don't see anyone coming into like a waiting room or anything.
Right. No, I don't either, and that's mildly concerning. But
Yeah.
let me just double check
Okay.
and see what she wants me to do. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
I can't see the breakout rooms on my computer. but I don't know if that's because you haven't opened them yet. Probably that's what it is.
I haven't opened them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I have not opened them. When Harman comes back, we can ask them to make you a co-host too. So then you would have the same controls over them.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I have my work computer here today, so I don't have my background or anything.
That's fine.
I don't have it downloaded. I was working from home yesterday, but I'm at the office, so
Do you want me to send it
it's
to
a
you?
little different. Oh no, it's okay. I think it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. I tested out the icebreaker question this morning in one of the focus groups, and people loved it. So
Oh, nice, nice. How did the focus group go?
it was good. Yeah. They're I just always feel so awkward hosting focus groups because I don't really do that often, you know?
Yeah.
I always feel awkward when I never do it. That's why.
Now
But it
you're
was
getting
nice.
experience. Good, good. Did you get a good range of people, like from early career to more established, or?
Yeah, I think so. Not, but it's funny because the folks that thought that they were that are well established think that they aren't well established. Like we had two
Mm,
fellows, I guess three fellows. One's doing the science diplomacy, NSPN one. One's doing the Mirzayan, one's doing
mm.
AAAS. And
Oh,
those former two didn't think that they were like well experienced. So
in
it's just,
science
like it's
policy.
relative to
Yeah,
what you think.
yeah, yeah. I feel like if somebody asked me, I'll be like, no, I'm not. I imagine that like experience is more like, oh, you've been in policy for like 5 to 10 years, then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm experienced. I'm like, I'm still a baby.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
didn't have anyone like super professional, I guess, if that's the new rankings
Oh,
we're gonna do. Yeah,
okay.
really,
Okay.
really career.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt your guys'
Oh,
conversation.
no. You get to.
I did hear that you wanted me to make you co-host as well, which I will do right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And it looks like that 6 people said they were going to come.
Okay.
No one has showed up yet, so it's a little bit weird.
No
Um,
worries.
I'd say if you guys don't mind, can we hang out until around 5:30? And if nobody shows up, then we can cancel this event. Because at
That
that
sounds
point, I
good.
don't know if anybody else is gonna come.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
I was wondering if you like the conference has like a central place where you like communicate with people, and if maybe.
In terms of like how we know who's coming, or
Oh no, like because they're participants on Hoover, right?
mm-hmm.
Right. So I didn't know if like you make announcements for each of these sessions to be like, oh, this is happening now if you want to join or something. I
I
don't know.
don't think so. I think that our announcement's already
Oh,
been made, maybe.
okay. Okay. All
I
right.
will double check that too. Give me a second.
No,
Sorry.
no, 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 no. You're good. No, it's okay.
This is actually the first event I'm doing alone, so it's a little overwhelming.
Oh, you're good. How's
Oh,
it
it's
going
very
so far?
low. It's very low stakes for a first event. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
If you don't mind, I'd like to still just talk about random stuff.
Oh yeah, please, of course.
Cool.
That's what the space is for.
Ope, have you ever
Yeah.
met Neela Babu?
I don't know. I've heard that name, but I no.
She was a fellow in your program in year 4, so from 2012 to 2013. Her and I are meeting later this week
Oh,
or next week.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
What do you know? What place where she was placed? Like where she
Yes.
were?
She would, oh shoot, I looked it up earlier today so that I'd be like
Yeah,
informed for
you're
our
good.
meeting. It was
Yeah.
one of the, it was related to the environment.
Oh, so was it in legislature then?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, because I think they were still doing just ledge at that point. Okay. Yeah, I haven't met her before. I think most of the people that I talked to were more recent, I think, before I joined here. But now, like being here, I've been talking to more like older fellows because they're a lot of them are still around. Like my boss at the Department of Insurance, I can't remember what year he was, but he was, I think he's probably like 8 years ago at least.
Hmm.
He did the fellowship. So yeah. But I didn't talk to a lot of older. I saw your name. I was going to text you. I saw your name on the list of like people to reach out to, and I was going to say that like if you want to chat anytime, or if you want to send your statement or resume or whatever, anything, like I'm happy to go through and like read it and
Oh, that would
give
be
you
so
feedback.
nice. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I'm finishing up because all of it's like basically done. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could just shoot it over to your central at sidepolnetwork.org.
Yeah. Yep.
That's so nice of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll be happy to do that. No worries. Yes. I remember going through this last year and like calling and texting everybody, sending messages on LinkedIn. But yeah, everybody that I reached out to like responded, and everybody was super nice. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what makes me so excited about it, is like everyone is like really, I feel like in academia there can be like a pulling the ladder up behind you attitude sometimes. And in
right.
CCST, everyone's been so nice so far. But
Yeah, yeah. And even when you get here too, it's the same thing with the alumni. Like we have alumni mentors that are matched with you during your for the year, and
okay,
you like
cool.
they reach out to you. You set up meetings, go for coffee, and chat about whatever question. So yeah, there definitely is like that building of community and making sure that everybody's like set for their careers. So yeah,
That's so
it's
awesome.
it's a helpful it's a helpful environment for sure. Definitely different from academia. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Definitely different from academia. So yeah.
And I see we have Bernard joined us. Bernard.
Ooh.
Hi, Ben.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Sorry I got in late.
No worries. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we don't have a big crowd right now. We've been kind of hanging out, hoping that more folks would join in. But I mean,
Oh,
since we're here, maybe we can go through some of the introductions and icebreakers if people would like.
sounds good.
Yeah,
Cool.
sounds good.
So I'll share my screen real quick so we can just make sure we're all looking at the same thing. All right. And because I've lost some of my controls going into screen sharing mode, if anyone else joins in and I don't address them, just flag them for me. But
Okay.
this is the National Science Policy Network networking session. And a couple of the icebreaker questions we want to ask were for everyone to introduce themselves with their name, their position and institution, and then give us a very brief description of what you do for work. But then follow that up with how your friends or family would describe what you do, which typically those are not the same thing. So I can start. I'm Zoe Cannabis. I am a fifth year PhD candidate at the University of California, Davis. I'm also the Western Onboarding Chair for NSPN. That means that I onboard new members. So if someone joins NSPN and they live in one of the Western states, then I have a quick Zoom call with them, let them know, like get to know their interests a little bit, and then help them figure out what resources are going to be best for them within NSPN. But then what I do for work is I do groundwater modeling. And so all my work is computational. But my my parents mostly just think of, in the matrix where there's the numbers running down. And I'm like looking through that, like trying to identify groundwater in the bits of code. That's what they figure. But um, with that, I'll pass it off to Ope.
Yes, thank you very much, Zoe. I'm Ope Yewale. I am also, well, I'm not also the Western Onboarding Chair. I am the Central Onboarding Chair at NSPN. And again, with that, helping members get connected and plugged into programs that we have in the national group. And right now, I am a science fellow with the California Council on Science and Technology in Sacramento, California. And what I do here is I work as a fellow at the Department of Insurance and in the Climate and Sustainability branch. And basically what we're looking into in our branch is figuring out measures or steps that we can take to better mitigate against and adapt to climate change. And so a lot of that, we're discussing things for wildfire mitigation, flood mitigation, for extreme heat mitigation as well. So looking at urban tree canopies and other measures that insurance can be used to help with decreasing climate change risks. What would my family and friends describe what I do? They have no idea. They know I work in insurance, and they know I talk about climate a lot. And so they would just probably say something about policy or something, but they don't really know exactly what I do. I've tried to explain it to them, but yeah, still it's hard because it's like thinking of insurance, you're thinking of like your health insurance or your car insurance and things. It's hard to like marry climate risk and like insurance. So it's pretty interesting and very, very exciting work that we do here.
That's awesome. I'd imagine they think like you're wearing a headset like mine and you're taking calls all day from insurance claims or something.
Meetings, yeah, insurance goods. Oh yeah, customer complaints, Yeah, no. I guess, yeah, Bernard, would you like to go next? Or Herman?
Sure. Thank you very much. It's been a joy to just listen to your stories and the way that your families describe your jobs. That's always interesting. Right. So my name is Bernard Ulo. I am a lecturer of food science and technology at the Department of Dairy and Food Science and Technology, based in Egerton University, that is in Kenya, in Africa. I'm also the current GARD coordinator for the African continent. And my area of specialization is in food safety. So I teach food science, but basically I go into food safety most of the time. And in terms of the short description of my work, I teach, I research in the areas of food safety, I collaborate with others, and my intention is to create solutions to the food safety situation, especially try and improve this food safety situation, not just for export commodities, which in Africa most of the time is probably well done, but also for the rest of the populace here in Africa, so that we can be able to benefit from, we know that there are quite a number of benefits of eating, these kind of foods which are safe for human consumption. And we know the dangers that come as a result of eating foods that do not meet the criteria for safety. I will drop my social media platforms, but so in terms of how people describe my job, especially family, my young daughter knows that I go to the university, and and she has an idea that I have students, but she knows that the students I have are big people. So yeah, she's 6, and the other one still doesn't know. She knows that I go to the university, I go to school, they just call it school. And they imagine I'm doing something with students who are big, you know, some of who are my age or even older. So that's the interesting scenario that I'm involved with. But thank you very much. It's a pleasure to get to know you.
So I guess that just leaves me. Hi, I'm Harmat. I'm currently a student at Michigan State. And I'm actually helping to organize GARD in general. And so I really don't actually work anywhere right now. But I hope to go into the medical field, and my friends and family would probably just describe it as being a doctor, of course. But specifically, I'd really like to go into some kind of public health advocacy work.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Feel free to drop your socials, LinkedIn, email, if you're comfortable, whatever you like to use to network with others and connect with others. Feel free to put that in the chat. And the original plan was, if we had a critical mass, we were going to at this point break out into 5 different breakout rooms, 4 of them being the different themes of the GARD forum, and the 5th being science policy, which is open, eyes, more expertise. But in lieu of that, we can hang out for a little bit longer. And if not, if more people don't show up, we can decide to call it early. But if you guys are interested, we do have a bunch of questions prepared. So if we can do another round robin of sharing and just get to know a little bit more about each other. Does that sound good to everyone? All right. So we don't have to do these in order. I trying to pick out one of my favorite ones. Okay, I like this one. If there was a such thing as a career fairy godmother, what would you wish for? I would probably wish for someone just to write all my personal statements for me, because that would be a lot smoother than what it currently is. I'm gonna think on it a little bit more. Does anyone have an answer for this?
I personally would just like somebody to help me guide me through the different turning points of my career, because sometimes I won't know who to go to, and just having that fairy godmother as a all-knowing resource would be very helpful.
That would be really nice, kind of like a career coach, basically. Nice.
Thank you. I can go next. So at this stage of my career, I'm just beginning to realize that there's a lot to do. And what I would really yearn for, and if I had my wish, would be to have somebody, perhaps as a personal assistant, to just help me with the nitty-gritties of emails that need to be responded to. Or like now I'm organizing for a certain workshop that is oncoming. I would like someone to work on the poster that we need to use for this, and make sure that letters have been sent, so that I do the, you know, the global stuff. So at this point of my career, I'm finding that it's so important that we get that kind of support. And hopefully beginning to have some graduate students to work with in this sense. Sorry about that. But basically, that's where my wish would be. My wish would be.
Yeah, I think for me, I would want somebody to help me with my writing. I do not like writing very much. So I would love my fairy godmother or fairy god person to help me with, at least maybe not help me, but edit my writing before I have to give it to people so that it looks good and sounds good. So yeah. But yeah, I totally get what Harman was saying though with like career coaching. We had a seminar last Friday and we're talking about telling your career story and how a lot of times with careers you have like these pivot moments where like you're going down one certain path and then you decide to move somewhere else. And so yeah, having somebody to like guide you through that process and help you figure out what the right next step is definitely would be helpful. So.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's hard to find those resources on your own. But going to Michigan State, I feel like I have quite a lot of resources that I sometimes wish I'd known about earlier or I just find out about. And it's very helpful to be able to hear from other people and listen to their guidance and say, oh, this might be a great undergraduate opportunity for you or a great research opportunity for you. And it's always been a really supportive community, which is what I really like.
Fantastic. So I would like just to come in on that area of career coaching, and the fact that it's very important for us to have people, you know, ahead of us that we can borrow from or draw some inspiration from in the right direction. So in addition to being a food scientist, I'm also a life coach. And one of the things that put me or drove me into life coaching was the look at my life and realizing at different times that if only I someone, you know, came along and told me this. I was trying all I could with all that was available within my resources, but if only this extra voice, you know, someone was gone the path who'd talk to me about some things, then it would make all the difference. I went into life coaching to make me a better person because I'm dealing with a lot of young people, as you can imagine, in universities. And so it helps me to know and I relate very quickly with them as far as my time was concerned. So it gives me a conversational starter and many times helps you to, if not you helping them, at least you'll show them in the right direction. What resources are available? Have you tried this? Have you talked to so-and-so? Maybe this could be of interest to you. So these kind of things happen. And I totally agree with Hamad that this is one of the things that we need along the path of our growth as early careers, scientists, or whatever the career we're involved with.
Are there opportunities for mentorship in GARD?
Yeah, I would say a lot of opportunities for mentorship and in two forms. Mentorship, one in the form of there are many people that would love to be mentored. I know, for example, all the time since 3 years ago when we started the GARD forum, I've had a lot of my students get to join GARD, and as a result of that, they have an opportunity to realize that the world and the university education is not just localized. There's so much resources available, and there is room for collaboration, and they can be able to relate with other people in different continents of the world and what they're doing at that level. That's on the one end. But I also believe on the other hand, the reason why I'm working very closely with Vanji also is we met when I was at Michigan State for some time as a Bolog fellow. This is 2019. And I met Vanji, and from there we have, had a consistent professional relationship that has led to us winning a grant just this recent month for the transformational AAP transformational institutional transformational grants. And so I see that as an opportunity for us to get mentorship, even at my level. I'm getting mentorship a lot from Vanji and the networks that she's bringing on board. So GARD is a place where that is highly possible. Depending on your level, there are people either below that would love to get something from you. So no one is too small or has such a small experience that it won't count. There's always somebody below on the deck that would appreciate what you're offering on the table. Yeah, thank you.
That is such a good point.
That is
And
such a good point. And
sorry, Opa, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say congratulations on the grant.
Thank you.
The only thing I was going to comment was like reflecting on there's a lot of opportunities for mentorship. And one thing, maybe like a piece of advice, Hermant, if you are seeking out mentors, is something that I often forget when I get into these kinds of like spaces, mentorship spaces, is how much work the mentee has to put in as well. And like that's what creates a successful relationship, is putting in a lot of work. You can't just show up and kind of expect them to have the answers. I've done that not many times, but like you'd think the other person, they're very experienced, they know what's going on, but you get so much more out of it if you put extra work into it. So that's been one of the things if I could go back more to the beginning of my career, I wish I could really emphasize that to myself to make the most out of those kinds of relationships.
Fantastic. Sounds very good. I would like to hear more about how I mean, the positions, especially the science position that you're holding. How did that come about, and what are you doing with it in terms of where do you see this going? And probably that would apply also for OPE and Ahmad. If there's something, I would just love to hear a little bit more. I think that's my point.
Yeah. I can start. I got interested in science policy, or really discovered that science policy was a thing back in 2020. So it'd be the first summer of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that coincided in the US with the social justice resurgence. And that was a time where I started to feel really passionate about certain issues, not for the first time, but I was really passionate, and I hadn't experienced something that intense before. And I had realized that this was an area where I could both use my scientific expertise, so all of this training in school that I've done for so many years, but then also work on the issues that I am most passionate about and mean the most to me. Is that intersection is science policy. And so after doing a lot of like online quizzes and like different like career tests and that sort of thing, I found this field and just started looking up different organizations that exist for me to start getting experience in it. Because I am an engineering student, I don't have we do hard sciences. I don't have a lot of professional development available through my like direct curriculum, and I'm someone that just loves extracurriculars. So I wanted to find an organization to get involved in, and I found out about the National Science Policy Network, NSPN, and got involved with their science policy scholars and residence program. It's a two-part program where the first part is like this educational boot camp where you learn everything there is to know about science policy. It's not exactly for beginners, but it really took me from someone who like had done a bunch of Googling about science policy into someone that like can kind of say what I want to do in science policy. And the second part is a residency program where you're given a small stipend to complete a 6-month part-time internship wherever you want. And so I worked with the Union of Concerned Scientists on a recent bit of legislation that was passed in California, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. It's all about how to manage our subaquifer systems more efficiently. And so that gave me some hands-on experience. And by the time I had finished that program, I had the elections for NSPN's next year were opening up. So this was about a year ago, and I just decided to run to see if I could have more involvement in this organization that had really turned me on to what it is I wanted to do with my career and give back in some sort of way. So that's how I got here. And the next thing I want to do is hopefully get the fellowship that OPE has. Well, that's what I'm applying for. A common step after your PhD is to, if you go into science policy, is to complete some sort of fellowship. So that would be with like state governments, like the California, also, or the federal government. That would be typically through the it's called AAAS. I can't remember what it stands for. But those are pretty common pathways for PhD scientists to transition into a career in policy, because you really get to like be on the cutting room floor for legislation and really get to experience what it's like to be a person working in policy, and really throw you out of the lab and, you know, kind of relearn how to do things. So that's what I'm hoping is my next step. But I'm hoping in my career I can like use my like blend of scientific and leadership and professional skills to advocate for policies that I'm very passionate about. But again, using my scientific expertise to develop sound reasoning for those policies. And I talked for a long time, so I'll stop now.
Awesome. I exactly what I want. I thought this would be intended to do. So thank you very much for sharing deeply.
Harman, I didn't know if you wanted to go. And yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna go next, so I was just waiting for you to go. But either or is okay. I guess I can go. So I'm actually still very early in my career. I would consider undergrad kind of the start of finding a passion for different things that are interesting. And I'm actually really passionate about science communication, and I'm going into a field where I won't be surrounded by experts all day, every day, because I want to be able to see patients, and patients don't necessarily know every single detail that you do. And so one of the things that I would really like to do in the future is make science more accessible to the public and kind of bridge that gap between scientific knowledge and the high pedestal sometimes scientists, physicians, and others alike are seen, especially in the science world, because it can get very confusing and very complicated, even as somebody in the field of science. Sometimes a little bit unnecessarily complicated. So my hope is that sometime or somewhere in the future, I can go into public health advocacy, as I mentioned before, but also work to bridge that gap between research and the general public. But I'm not sure necessarily how I'm going about that yet, but that's the idea.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say I totally get I totally get that, where it's like I'm doing something and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out in the end, but I think in the end it usually works out the way it's supposed to. I'm Nigerian, so I grew up in the Republic of Benin. There's a thunderstorm in Davis. Oh wow, dang. Yeah, it was raining here earlier, but now it's stopped. But yeah, I grew up in Benin and moved to the US for college in 2010. And when I moved for college, I was like, I'm going to med school. I'm waiting. I was like, I'm going to med school. I want to be a medical doctor. And that's like kind of what I had wanted to do my whole life. But then I got to college my like junior year, went for a research project in Michigan, and kind of my eyes were open to a different field. And I was like, oh, like this was even environmental research. It wasn't lab research at all. And I was like, maybe I'm more interested in research than medicine. And medicine kind of scares me a little bit. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do medicine. And so I started down the research path and went for a master's and decided I needed to learn some more and go for my PhD. And my goal really with that was to get to understand how the scientific method works, get to understand how scientists think, and possibly like move back to Nigeria to like work in research. And then I got to the PhD and I was like, I really don't like being in the lab. And so decided then that I need to figure out what else can be done. And so I did a lot of informational interviews, talking to people, figuring out what else was out there. And that's kind of how I landed in science policy. Just talking to people, and somebody mentioned Kristen Mirzayan, somebody mentioned CCST, and kind of applied for those two, and then heard about NSPN and started getting involved. We worked, I think in NSPN, my first project that I worked on was Diverse Science Diplomacy Takes event that we did. And there we were interviewing people in Western Africa who were working in using artificial intelligence in agriculture. And so we interviewed somebody from Senegal, somebody from Nigeria, and then somebody from Ghana. And so we're trying to discuss the challenges that they were facing, the benefits that they had gotten from using artificial intelligence in their work. And so that kind of like, those kinds of things really excite me, things that where you can contribute directly to society, because a lot of scientific research can be in a silo, can take a while to get to society. And so having the opportunity to work in a space where the work that you're doing is directly relevant to people was very exciting for me. And so that's kind of why I started moving towards science policy. Now, CCSC, I applied to because during the pandemic, I started to notice, and I think, Bernard, you probably, I've been in the US since like 2010. And so my picture of what's happening in Nigeria and in the African continent is not as clear as it could be if I was like there. But I started to notice how like the Western world was moving very, very fast in like innovating, coming up with the vaccines, the drugs, distribution and all of that, and the delays that we were experiencing and how a lot of help was needed for moving things around. And in Nigeria, we didn't even have like the cold storage facilities to get like to keep the vaccines at the temperatures they needed. So like just seeing all of those systemic differences, my goal really with this fellowship is to understand like the system that's built here that supports scientific innovation and how it works, how policy is made and how it's implemented, so that I can contribute back like policy-wise to supporting the research innovation industry or system in Nigeria and across the African continent. So that's really like where I'm at right now. And hopefully down the line, be working with organizations, be working with government to kind of make scientific research and innovation more of a priority for us. And which, yeah, I don't know, but that's kind of where I am right now. And so I'm really, really happy that you're here, Bernard, because I'm like, okay, this is another connection that I can make to kind of understand how things are working, like what the challenges are, what the progress is made that has already been made, because I know that it's not the same as when I was like back home still, but I also know that there is like more that can be done and that will be done. So yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad I'm here as well. I'm very glad that I'm here. And I've tried to, I think I'll get to it because I've only seen your LinkedIn. So if you could get to mine, just you could send an invite and we'll pick it from there. Zul and Hamad, the same thing, so that we can be able to grow this network. But the reason I'm saying I'm very happy to be here again, especially on call with people who are thinking policy and science communication, is because recently or in the past few years, so first of all to say, as you said, those are the typically issues that are still happening here in the continent. Yes, there is a little bit of change in some directions, especially when it comes to physical infrastructure, you know, that is evident, you can see it. But in terms of what I would call software's infrastructure, which is to do with the, as you said, for example, the ability and the systems to transfer, move things from here to the cold chain systems and all those things, those are probably not where they should be. So as far as I'm concerned, one of the things that is becoming glaringly clear to me now is how do we amplify the voices of reason, the voices of science in Africa? More than the voices of politics and demagoguery, or what I would also call, loosely I could just call it politics, because you realize in many occasions it takes off, it drowns every good thing. You know, if you're not politically connected, it's not going to be acted upon. And sometimes they take the opportunity in the political world to just misinform. I'm acutely aware that this problem is not just now centralized to Africa, it's spreading all over the place. And more and more politics, expediency, political expediency is taking over, you know, things that really matter. And I know one way to do this is communication, but for some reason it seems as though the voice of the politics is well oiled. Of course, they have the resources. And how do we try and just create a balance so that at least the science can be heard? I don't know if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share.
I I think what I'm thinking of now is the system that I've seen here in the US where, and I don't know how this is done back home, where like scientists take part in the policy system. So when people are coming up with bills, when people are coming up with ideas for policies that need to be made, a lot of times they would refer to scientists. Well, the bills that would make sense, at least, not the ones that people just come up with willy-nilly because of their ideologies or anything. But those like science, those sound bills that come up for moving the country forward, scientists are usually involved in those kinds of things. Even during the legislative process, a lot of times you have scientists come and testify at the House or at the Assembly and talk to lawmakers about the processes that they're working on. And I think that is one way for scientists to get involved in the process, because political, like you said, political voices are very, very strong, and they will always be stronger because, like you said, they have the resources, they have the experience and the time that they've already been in front of people all of these years. And I think something that I would like to see is more scientific voices in the legislative process. I think that would bring science closer to policy. And it doesn't have to be, I guess it could be also in front of people, but even if it was behind closed doors, not on the down low, but more of like in hearings, on the legislative floor, which most people don't really watch, but still like allowing science to have that effect on, because then you have like, if you pass a bill into law, that is going to affect the whole country. And so having science have play a part in that process, I think would be important. And would definitely amplify scientific voices. And maybe people would not be able to say, oh, it's doctor, this person that did it. But the fact that the bill and now this law is based on scientific facts amplifies the scientific process in our policy world. That's kind of, I don't know that, and I guess I'll defer to you on that. Like, is that something that's already happening? Because I feel like, at least in Nigeria, the way I see lawmaking, it's a lot of people just coming up with ideas and not prioritizing sometimes the like education and security and infrastructure that sometimes needs to be prioritized. So that's kind of my thought process with that.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Maybe before I rejoin, if Zoe or Ahmad would like to add something to it, I would give them a chance, and then I would say some things.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I think it's interesting that it's not necessarily the transparency of the political system that ensures that more voices are being heard, because like you said, Ope, I was gonna, C-SPAN is a thing. No one watches C-SPAN. That has all of the legislation stuff recorded if you want to see it, but people don't watch that. So it's not necessarily like making our current political system more, as it is, more visible to people, but encouraging people in science, people that do science, to participate. And I think a good way to do that might be through strengthening scientific societies, because speaking as a collective is, one, more powerful than speaking as an individual, but it's also safer for individuals that, I don't know, we live in, at least right now, call out culture is a thing, canceling is a thing, and there can be a lot of fear in stating something overt in either direction. No matter where you live, someone will be opposed to it, and there's fear there. But being able to stand on a collective with your peers, I think, can make people more confident in the things that they say, and probably will give a little bit more grounds. So I wonder if, like, I'm involved with the American Geophysical Union, and that's like my professional society for my science stuff, and we do advocacy work to the U.S. government. I wonder if there are parallels of that or similar societies that are available in African countries or Africa as a continent.
I agree with that completely. I think not only is it that these organizations are a collective and they're probably more listened to by governments, but I think it's just a very comfortable space for people to understand and learn from different people that are at different places in their career. And especially for somebody like me, I always like learning from anybody who is going down my chosen career path, or even other career paths, and how they end up choosing one career path over another and what they're doing in that career path. It's always very interesting to learn. Because I personally always found science policy and diplomacy very intimidating. It's sometimes very difficult to understand. And I think one of the biggest barriers with that, to me, is just having very open resources on how I can understand it better, or what I have to do to understand it better. Because sometimes as a student, I struggle, people are talking about a new bill. I'm like, I haven't heard of this. Where did you find this information? And so really, I think awareness of those resources and education of those resources is really important. And I hope that every single country can do something like that. And that there could be potentially a global network around something like that in the future. That would be really interesting and really nice.
Amazing, sharings there. So just to share some thoughts around the matter at hand, I totally agree with all of you in terms of the ways you look at what could be done from opaque ideas to the fact that you can go and communicate together as a team, and to your position about having more open society. So the reality here so far, as far as I'm concerned, is when it comes to giving a chance, giving an opportunity for science or scientific voices to rise, it should be something that is a societal thing. By that I mean, for example, if I'm going to appoint, cabinet secretaries or permanent secretaries, so these are people in offices that run with policies. The question is, what kind of appointees am I going to give these positions? So, for example, I'm coming to bring someone on board as the Minister for Agriculture. If the person I'm choosing to be a Minister for Agriculture has no idea absolutely what agriculture is all about, studied zero policies, and the only qualifications they have for being in those positions is because they belong to a certain business community that I belong, or a certain tribe that I belong to, then that begins to negate the voice of science in these things. And when you do that for a long time, then it means that the scientific community feels as though our place is just academia and never policy, and never affecting the society as we should. So this is one of the challenges that if we're addressed, then we'll be moving closer to saying that if there is a consideration to be made, then let's bring someone to testify, a scientist, let him come and testify on the matter on the floor of the House, so that people can get to see what science says about these things. Unfortunately, that has not been well done so far, and is one of the areas that needs to be reworked. And the only way it can be reworked is with political expediency. Is very difficult to do that. But if they begin to have meritocracy, we're saying, I'm going to select somebody to work in the medical field, or to be the permanent secretary for medical services. This person should at least understand these things in terms of their education and experience that they are doing. So that's one area that is that needs a lot to be done. And then the next area, when it comes to the collectives, I am in the food science arena. So one of the organizations I belong to quite a number, but one of them for food scientists in Kenya is called the Kenya Institute of Food Science and Technology. It's an older organization. Unfortunately, our vibrancy is not much, because one of the things that we have been struggling to do over the years is to find ourselves in the legislation through an act of parliament. That gives us not only visibility, but also gives us a channel through which we can be able to influence what happens, what do we teach, what curriculums are offered, those kind of things. Now, the reality we got to when it comes to legislation and the legislative process in some of these countries is that legislation, first of all, requires sponsorship, and this is monetary sponsorship, to sponsor a bill. They call it sponsoring a bill. And what that means is that you need a colossal amount of money, as far as our society is concerned, as this scientific society is concerned. We have not been able to raise that kind of money so far to be able to sponsor a bill. And this sponsorship means that you need to get somebody who is in parliament, who has your agenda at heart, but also that you have raised this money for them to even have a look at the bill. It may be good. We have, some drafts, but they're not looking at it. If you don't have the kind of what I could call threshold, money to sponsor the bills, that it continues into parliament and then it will be discussed. So those become very limiting issues or matters on this legislative process, which we feel should be addressed at some level, so that the process becomes transparent and without what I would personally just call matters that are not relevant to what is on the table, matters that are not relevant to what is on the table. And as a result, then we have so many good legislations and many societies which are not able to do well, because now the legislative process finds a hiccup in the process. And when that happens, if you don't have a strong legislative voice, then it means that you're not on the table when it comes to making certain decisions for the country. And this is how you realize that, for example, in the food science arena, in some countries, the people who are making decisions when it comes to food science, food safety, they are not in food science, they're not in food safety. Many times they will be in the medical field. A little bit, if that is the case, they will be in probably public health, because now you have not come to the fore. And the reason why you're not coming to the fore sometimes is because the process has been made and politicized, so that unless you have some power with a wherewithal to influence, and then once it is in parliament, of course, to do some lobbying, then you're stuck with those very good legislations. So this is part of the scenario, as it were, and which, as we are thinking about how to address, those are the two things that I feel are a hindrance to be coming at a level where science then can begin to rule. I'm very cognizant of the fact that scientists, we are not angels, but at least we have a mechanism that tries to keep us on toes. We have mechanisms to say, justify everything you're doing on the basis of the science that is available, on the basis of the evidence that are available. You cannot say that of political, leadership. They don't have to show anything. And so if at some point, I don't know what we'll have to do to get into the minds that if they were to do things differently and begin to give science the voice it really deserves to have, then we will have, not awesomely, but we'll have at least slightly better societies, because there is more objectivity in science so far than it is in the political world. Anyway, not to sound political, that is how it is.
Thank you so much for all of those thoughts and like positing those questions. It's nice to have a discussion, especially here to hear different viewpoints of people with very different experiences. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So we have a couple of options now. Would folks like to continue on with another one of our prepared questions, or we can call it at the top of the hour for today? I'd love to hear people's input.
I'm okay either way.
I'm okay either way.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
My preference is if you have one question and you make it a little bit short, then it would help us to just round up the conversation. And then here is already 1 a.m. So maybe to catch a bit of sleep. And then we could.
Oh, it's 1 a.m.
1 a.m. Yeah, you forgot. Oh, but Nigeria is around 10, 9 now.
Yeah, it's like 11 in Nigeria.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm fine with rounding up if we need to. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to share my screen one more time, and I'll remember that I'm sharing it this time. Sorry about last time. I'm just going to put. Okay, here is our contact information for myself and Ope. If you want to contact us about questions with NSPN, feel free.
Yes. Yeah, we're happy to answer any questions at any time. And yeah, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn as well, just so that we can hopefully continue conversations too.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
I'll be catching up also with you, at least the contacts, and linked on LinkedIn, so I'll be able to send an invitation. Let's expand this network. Let's see what we can do together. It's always good to have a team of like-minded, passionate young people. We can't wait for others to come and make a contribution towards transforming. If we believe in it and it's the right thing to do, then we just do our best. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
I did just notice Miriam. Hi, Miriam. It's nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Very good. We were actually just wrapping up.
Okay. Sorry.
Hi, Miriam. Welcome. Miriam
Thank
is
you very
one
much.
part of the
Nice to
GARD
meet you.
team from Africa. How come you have some echo from your end?
I don't know what's the problem, but it's for me.
Not at all. It's been there for a while.
Okay. I am not hearing you. Okay. Just a minute.
Okay, well, I'm not really sure what to do now. Because we've had to close
I was thinking maybe we can just all go through and like introduce ourselves, and then Miriam can introduce herself, and then we can close, just to at least get to know who she is.
That's a great idea.
Hi. But I am seeing some echo that I can. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you good.
Okay.
So
We can hear you.
yes. So I'll reintroduce myself again for you, Miriam, and let's each go through that. And yeah, I'm just going to put the introduction prompt in the chat. But as I said at the top, my name is Zoe Canavas. I am a fifth-year PhD candidate at the University of California, Davis, and I'm also the Western Onboarding Chair for the National Science Policy Network. So anyone in the Western states that joins NSPN for the first time will have a brief meeting with me. I'll get to know their interests a little bit and get them connected with the resources that would be most applicable to them at NSPN. A short description of my work is I am a groundwater modeler. I study the fundamental physics that drives groundwater flow at extremely small scales. However, my friends and family, I don't think they don't totally understand what I mean when I say that. So they really just think that I'm hacking all day because I'm on the computer. They don't trust what I'm doing. Very confused. But Ope, would you reintroduce yourself next?
Next. Yes, I will. Thank you. Ope Oyewale, I am the Central Onboarding Chair with NSPN and also a Science Policy Fellow with the California Council on Science and Technology. And here I work with the California Department of Insurance in the Climate and Sustainability branch, where we're looking at ways to help with mitigating and adapting to climate change using insurance products. And it's not limited just to insurance, but then also supporting other mitigation strategies, like looking at urban tree canopies, wildfire mitigation strategies here in California, and just any way to reduce risk and build resilience for California residents. I think my family just knows that I work in policy and I do something with insurance and something with climate change. So those are the three words I think they would use to describe what I do. But I think that's pretty fair for what I've just described. So yeah, I'll pass it to Harmat.
Hi, I'm Harmat, and of course, I think we've already met Miriam, but I helped organize GARD, and I'm currently an undergrad student at Michigan State, who's hoping to go to medical school. And I'm also hoping to potentially, in the future, work in a public health sector on an advocacy side, and also potentially for patient advocates, and help support some kind of patient advocacy research. And if my parents, so I don't actually have a job right now, because I'm a student, but if my family or friends were to describe my work, both of my parents are actually in the sciences and maths, so they have a really good understanding of, what a physician does and what advocacy work is. So they would probably say something quite similar to what I just said.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay, hi. Yeah. So I am Mariam Jallouli. I am from Algeria. I am veterinarian and I'm acting as a head of parasitology department at regional laboratory, veterinary laboratory situated in the southeast of Algeria. This laboratory is belonging to Algerian Institute, National Institute of Veterinary Medicine. At the same time, I am a PhD candidate. I am studying vector-borne diseases. So I still studying and working at the same time. What my family, so as I am working, describe my job as I am working in a laboratory. So they think I am a policeman to save animals from out, or to keep the animal health in the, in the right way. So that's it. Thank you. And I'm very glad to meet you.
Thank you, Miriam, the policeman for animals, right?
Yeah, a strange description, but that's it. In our country,
yeah, sure.
They are afraid that, knowing that a veterinarian they're doing testing of the diseases. So for them, it's just a policeman that keeping health animal in the right way. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Me and Miriam know each other, but I'll just introduce myself because of the precedents we set. My name is Bernard Lu. I'm a lecturer of food science at Egerton University, which is based in Nakuru, Kenya. At the same time, my specialty is in the area of food safety, and I worked with food safety across board, from dairy-based products to vegetables and chicken and many other products like that. I'm also currently the one coordinating GARD Africa, where we bring all the different participants from the continent together to present an African agenda at the GARD symposium, which is happening currently. And with that, my family would describe, especially my two daughters, they would say, I work in school, I teach adults, I teach big people, and that's pretty much. In terms of the food science thing, they've not started to get a glimpse of what that would mean, but they just know that I teach, and that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been an awesome experience and a joy to just share some of the work that you're doing with NSPN, and I believe that this is the foundation for even more collaboration. I'm always open to reaching out for, if you feel there's something, some help you need somewhere in Africa, or if you feel there's something that I can probably come on board as you're working on it, or you want some more information regarding a thing that I can help, never hesitate to just send something. I am open to such collaborations. So thank you very much, everybody, and I wish you all.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I'll echo that. Miriam, if you feel comfortable, feel free to share your socials, your LinkedIn, so we can all connect after the session is over. But with that, I think that we're ready to close out for today. Thank you everyone so much for attending. I'll reiterate one more time, if you have any questions about NSPN, Ope and I are both resources to all of you or anyone that you know that has some questions. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to connecting with all of you afterwards.
Thank you so much for being here, Zoe and Ope. And I'm so glad you guys were here, Ben and Miriam. It's been a really great session, and I'm really glad to hear all of your experiences. And I'm sure everybody else in here is also glad to hear each other's different experiences. It's been a really great bonding session and just getting to learn different perspectives. So that's been really helpful. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here today.
Thank you, Amat. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I attended very late, but I am very glad. Next time I will be. On time. Sorry for that.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions after this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very
Bye.
much. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.